Commander Tay stood on the bridge of the Neptune station, staring at the message that had arrived 30 minutes ago. His dark eyes scanned the alien text one more time, though he had already memorized every word. The Velen Confederacy needed help. Desperately. "Play it again," Tay said to the communications officer. The hologram flickered to life. A moth-like creature appeared, its wings trembling with fear. The translator made its voice sound thin and broken. "Please, we beg the human representatives for aid. The Krith swarm attacks our worlds. They take our people as slaves. They burn our cities. We need medical personnel, construction experts, perhaps some security advisors to help organize our defense. We can pay. Please help us." The transmission ended. Tay rubbed his jaw, feeling the stubble there. He had not slept in 20 hours. "How many Velen worlds are under attack?" he asked. 15 confirmed, sir," replied Lieutenant Yuna, his tactical officer. She was young, barely 30, but sharp as broken glass. "Intelligence suggests the Krith have already enslaved 3 colony populations, estimated dead in the thousands." Tay nodded slowly. Behind him, the door to the bridge opened. Ambassador Hai walked in, her formal robes sweeping the floor. She carried herself with the grace of someone who believed words could solve any problem. "Commander," she said, "I have reviewed the Velen request. I am preparing a humanitarian response team, 200 personnel, medical staff, engineers, and a small security detachment. We can have them ready in 48 hours. Tay turned to face her. 200 people? Yes, that is what they asked for. They asked for help, Ambassador. They do not understand what help means. Hai's expression tightened. They specifically requested medical personnel and advisors, not an army. Because they do not know how to fight a war, Tay said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. They think this is a problem you solve with negotiations and peacekeepers. It is not. He pulled up a tactical display. Red markers showed Krith fleet positions. Blue markers showed Velen defenses, pathetically thin. The Krith swarm operates like locusts. They strip a planet of resources and move on. They have been doing this for 200 years. Every species they have encountered either surrenders or dies. Tay zoomed in on one world. This is Saren Prime. Population 4 million. The Krith landed 6 days ago. Current Velen population 2 million. Half dead or taken in less than a week. Yuna spoke up. Ambassador, with respect, if we send 200 unarmed personnel into an active war zone, they will die, or worse, become hostages. Hai shook her head. The galaxy is watching us. Humanity has been part of the Galactic Commonwealth for only 15 years. We are already seen as aggressive. If we respond to a request for humanitarian aid with warships, it will confirm every fear they have about us. Let them fear us, Tay said quietly. The Krith should fear us more. He opened a communication channel. Get me Admiral Park at Earth Command. The discussion that followed lasted 3 hours. Ambassador Hai argued passionately for restraint. She spoke of diplomacy, of building trust, of showing the galaxy that humans could be peaceful partners. Tai listened. Then he presented his tactical assessment, showed the casualty projections if they sent a small team, explained how the Krith fought, how they overwhelmed defenders with numbers and brutality. If we do this, he said to the Admiral's hologram, we do it properly, or we do not do it at all. Admiral Park was an old man with scars on his face from the resource wars back on Earth. He had fought in tunnels beneath Shanghai when he was 16. He knew what real war looked like. How many ships do you need, Commander? The Admiral asked. The 7th Expeditionary Fleet, 12 warships, 8,000 Marines, full combat loadout. Ambassador Hai gasped. That is insane. They will think we are invading. They will think we are serious, Tay replied. The Admiral was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Authorization granted. Operation Steel Mercy is approved. Commander Tay, you have operational command. Rules of engagement are weapons-free on Krith forces. Try not to start a galactic incident. Understood, sir. The hologram vanished. Ambassador High stood frozen, her face pale. You are making a terrible mistake, she said. Perhaps, Tay agreed. But I would rather be judged for saving lives than eulogized for failing to act. Over the next 24 hours, the 7th Fleet assembled. Destroyers and cruisers, their hulls painted the dark gray of Earth's warships. Each vessel carried enough firepower to crack a moon. The Marines loaded aboard, checking weapons and armor that would seem like science fiction to the fragile aliens they were going to help. Captain Jin stood on the bridge of his destroyer, the Soul's Fury. He was younger than most captains, promoted quickly because he was very good at his job. His job was breaking things and killing enemies. Crew reports ready, sir, his executive officer said. Jin nodded. Good. Let us go teach the Krith what happens when they pick a fight near human space. In the medical bay of the flagship, Dr. Da worked with her staff to prepare for casualties. She was a xenobiologist, one of the few humans who actually understood alien physiology. She had reviewed Velen anatomy files and was deeply concerned. Their bones are like bird bones, she told her nurses. Hollow, light, fragile. Their homeworld has low gravity. If we are not careful, we could hurt them just by touching them too hard. What about the Krith? A young medic asked. Da pulled up an image of a Krith warrior. It looked like a mantis crossed with a beetle, all sharp edges and armor plating. Exoskeleton, vulnerable to piercing weapons. Their organs are distributed throughout the body so they can survive significant damage. Kill shots are headshots or completely destroying the thorax. She paused. But I do not think we will be treating many Krith. Commander Tay's rules of engagement do not allow for taking prisoners. On the observation deck, Ambassador High stood alone, watching the fleet prepare to jump to faster-than-light travel. She had sent a message to the Galactic Commonwealth, informing them of humanity's response to the Velen crisis. She had worded it carefully, but she knew how it would be received. Humanity was sending warships to solve a humanitarian crisis. The galaxy would be terrified. Her communicator chimed. It was Commander Tay. Ambassador, we jump in 10 minutes. Would you like to say anything to the fleet? Tell them to be careful, she said quietly. Tell them the galaxy is watching. Tell them that we are supposed to be better than this. Better than what, Ambassador? Better than responding to a cry for help with violence. Tay was silent for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. Ambassador, they asked for help. We are sending the only kind of help that will matter. The Velens do not need doctors and engineers, not yet. First, they need someone to stop the killing. That is what we do. The channel closed. High watched as the fleet began to move, ships aligning for the jump, 12 warships carrying 8,000 soldiers from humanity's homeworld. From Earth. From a planet so violent and deadly that it had forged a species of warriors. They asked for help, she whispered to herself. And we sent Deathworlders. The fleet vanished in flashes of light, jumping across the stars toward a war that had already claimed millions of lives, toward an enemy that had never known defeat, toward a future that would change the galaxy forever. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Saren system. On the bridge of the flagship, Commander Tay watched the tactical display light up with data. Scan complete, reported the sensor officer. 12 Krith vessels in orbit. 3 more on the planet's surface. Velen defense platforms are offline, reading multiple cities on fire. Contact the Velen defense coordinator, Tay ordered. On the planet below, a Velen named Ithris received the incoming transmission with shaking hands. She was the senior coordinator for the entire system, a position she had never wanted and certainly never trained for. When the Krith came, the actual military leaders had fled or died. She opened the channel expecting to see the small transport ship she had requested. Instead, her screen filled with sensor data that made no sense. 12 warships, not transports. Warships. Her wings began to flutter in panic, an involuntary response her species had when facing predators. But there were no predators on the Velen homeworld. There had not been for millions of years. "This is Commander Tay of the United Earth Expeditionary Fleet," said a voice. The translator made it sound calm, almost bored. "We are responding to your request for aid." "Fleet?" Ithras's voice came out as a squeak. We asked for medical personnel, advisors, not a fleet." "You asked for help. We brought what you need." A pause. "Prepare a landing zone for our assault teams. We will secure your capital city first." "Assault teams?" Ithras felt faint. "How many soldiers are you sending?" 8,000 to start, more if needed." The channel closed. Ithras stared at her screen, unable to process what she had just heard. 8,000 soldiers. The entire Velen military across all 15 worlds was barely 12,000, and most of those were administrative personnel. What had she done? 6 hours later, the first human dropships descended through Saren Prime's atmosphere. They were ugly, brutal things, designed for one purpose: getting soldiers to the ground alive. Lieutenant Yuna sat in the troop bay with her platoon, 40 Marines in full combat armor. The armor was matte black, covered in sensor packages and weapon mounts. Each suit could withstand small arms fire, survive in vacuum, and enhance the wearer's strength by a factor of 3. To a human, it was standard military equipment. To the Velens watching the landing, it looked like something from a nightmare. The dropships touched down in the central plaza of the capital. The ramps dropped, and Yuna's Marines deployed in perfect formation. They moved fast, weapons up, scanning for threats. A crowd of Velens had gathered to watch. They were beautiful in a delicate way, with iridescent wings and slender bodies. They stood about 1.5 meters tall, much smaller than the 2-meter-tall humans in armor. One Velen child, no more than 5 years old, saw the Marines and started crying. The sound triggered something in Yuna's chest, a protective instinct that every human seemed to carry. She removed her helmet, letting her long black hair fall free. The Velens gasped. Yuna smiled, trying to look friendly. "We are here to help," she said through her translator. The Velen mother grabbed her child and fled. Others followed. Within minutes, the plaza was empty. "Well," said Corporal Bow, Yuna's heavy weapons specialist, "that went well." "They are scared," Yuna said quietly. "Look at them. They are so fragile." Bow nodded. He was a large man, built like a tank, carrying a weapon that could punch through starship armor. "Boss, if I tripped and fell on one of them, I would probably kill them." "Then do not trip," Yuna replied. Ithras arrived an hour later, escorted by Velen security. She approached the human command post carefully, her wings folded tight against her body in a gesture of submission. Dr. Da was setting up the field hospital. She had studied Velen biology extensively on the journey and was concerned by what she had learned. These beings evolved on a world with 0.6 Earth gravity. They breathed oxygen, but their atmosphere was thinner. They had no natural predators, no concept of physical violence between individuals. They were, by human standards, incredibly fragile. "Coordinator Ithras," Dr. Da said, bowing slightly. "I am Dr. Da. I will be treating your wounded." Ithras looked at the field hospital. It had walls made of reinforced materials, guard posts, and enough medical equipment to handle hundreds of casualties. It looked more like a fortress than a hospital. This is too much," Ithras said. "We just needed some doctors." "You need doctors who will not die," Da replied gently. "The Krith are still here. We must be ready." That evening, Yuna's platoon set up a perimeter around the refugee camp. The Velans watched from a safe distance as the humans dug fighting positions, set up automated turrets, and established sensor grids. One Marine suggested they do their evening physical training. It was part of the routine, something soldiers did to stay sharp. The Velans watched in horror as 40 humans ran 10 kilometers in full armor, not jogging, running, fast, for fun. When they finished, barely winded, they started doing exercises, push-ups, squats, all while wearing armor that weighed more than an adult Velan. "What are they?" whispered one Velan to another. "I do not know," came the reply, "but I am glad they are on our side." The first real test came 3 days later. A Krith raiding party attacked a supply depot on the outskirts of the city. The depot stored food for refugees, and the Krith wanted to destroy it to starve the population into submission. It was a tactic that had worked on every world they had attacked. Destroy the food, watch the prey surrender. Corporal Bo's squad was guarding the depot when the attack came. 20 Krith warriors, each one a killing machine evolved from a world of constant predation and violence. They hit the depot at dawn, expecting to face frightened Velans with civilian weapons. Instead, they found 5 humans in combat armor. The fight lasted 4 minutes. Bo's heavy weapon, a rotary cannon that fired depleted uranium rounds, cut through Krith armor like paper. The other Marines used rifles that fired hypersonic projectiles, each round powerful enough to punch through walls. The Krith tried to adapt. They had fought hundreds of battles across dozens of worlds. They were experienced warriors. But they had never fought humans before. Humans who could run faster in armor than Krith could sprint. Humans who could see in darkness and through walls with their helmet sensors. Humans whose reflexes were fast enough to dodge attacks that would kill any other species. When the smoke cleared, 23 Krith lay dead. 5 humans stood among the bodies, checking their weapons and calling for cleanup crews. 0 human casualties, not even a scratch. Bo pulled off his helmet and lit a cigarette, a habit he had picked up in the Mars colonies. "Command, this is 2nd Squad. Depot is secure. Enemy neutralized." "Casualties?" came Commander Tay's voice. "None on our side, sir. Krith force completely destroyed." A pause. "They retreated?" "Negative, sir. We did not give them the chance." Another pause, longer this time. "Understood. Good work, Corporal." News of the battle spread through both Velan and Krith communication networks. For the Velans, it was the first hope they had felt in months. The humans were everything the rumors said: strong, fast, deadly. For the Krith, it was their first taste of fear. The Krith Hive commander, a creature called Scritch, reviewed the battle data from his flagship in orbit. He watched the recordings 3 times, unable to believe what he saw. His warriors, elite soldiers who had conquered 17 worlds, had been slaughtered by 5 enemies. 5. Scritch sent out a priority message to all Krith forces in the sector. "New enemy encountered. Species designation, human. Threat level, extreme. Recommend immediate withdrawal." The response came back from the Krith High Command. "Denied. Humans are one species, we are many. Press the attack." Scritch looked at the data again. At the humans moving with impossible speed. At weapons that should not exist. At armor that made them nearly invulnerable. He sent one more message. "This is a mistake. These are not like the others." On the planet below, Ithris found Yuna standing watch on the hospital roof. The human was staring at the stars, her rifle resting across her knees. "Lieutenant," Ithris said quietly, "may I speak with you?" Yuna nodded, gesturing to a spot beside her. "I must know," Ithris said. "What are you? Your people, I mean. Where do you come from that you are so dangerous?" Yuna was quiet for a long moment. "We come from Earth. It is a Class 12 death world." "I do not know what that means." It means our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. High gravity, dangerous weather, predators that hunted us, diseases that killed us, poisonous plants, toxic animals. Everything on Earth wanted us dead. How did you survive? Yuna smiled, but it was sad. We became more dangerous than anything trying to kill us. We became so dangerous that we almost destroyed ourselves several times. War, weapons, we are very good at violence. Is that why you are here? Because you enjoy fighting? No, Yuna said firmly. We are here because we understand what it is like to be prey. We remember what it feels like to be hunted. And we decided a long time ago that we would never be prey again. And neither would anyone under our protection. Ithris felt something shift in her understanding. These humans were not monsters. They were survivors from a world that made them strong enough to protect the weak. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For coming, for helping, for being what you are. Yuna looked at the fragile alien beside her and felt that protective instinct again. You are welcome, she said. Now go get some rest. Tomorrow we take the fight to the Krith ships in orbit, and trust me, you do not want to watch. Captain Jin stood on the bridge of the Soul's Fury, watching the Krith harvester fleet through his tactical display. 15 ships orbited the third Velen colony world, their massive drilling equipment already tearing into the planet's surface. Distance to target? Jin asked. 80,000 kilometers in closing, sir. Weapon status? Railguns charged and ready, missile batteries loaded. Jin nodded. He had read the reports from Saren Prime. He knew what the Krith did to civilian populations. He had seen images of Velen children in slave pens. He felt no mercy. Fire when ready, he said calmly. The Soul's Fury opened fire at maximum range. Railgun rounds, each one a tungsten rod accelerated to 40% the speed of light, crossed the distance in seconds. The Krith harvester ships had shields designed to stop asteroid impacts and energy weapons. They were not designed to stop kinetic weapons moving at relativistic speeds. The first round punched through a harvester's shield like it was not there, went through the hull, through the ship's reactor, and out the other side. The ship exploded in a ball of superheated plasma. The second and third rounds hit before the Krith even knew they were under attack. 2 more ships died. Targets are breaking formation, reported the tactical officer. They are trying to run. Do not let them, Jin said. Pursuit course, maximum acceleration. The human destroyer was smaller than the Krith harvesters, but it was built for war. It accelerated at rates that would crush any species not from a high-gravity world. Within minutes, the Soul's Fury was among the fleeing Krith ships, firing at point-blank range. It was not a battle. It was an execution. 15 Krith ships went into that system. 0 came out. On the colony below, the Velen governor watched in amazement as debris rained from orbit. The humans had destroyed an entire Krith fleet in less than 20 minutes. Who are these people? She whispered. Across 5 Velen worlds, Commander Tay's fleet went to work. The strategy was simple and brutal. Find the Krith, kill them all, move to the next target. There were no warnings, no chances to surrender. The Krith had shown no mercy to the Velens, and the humans returned the favor. Dr. Da set up her main medical facility on Saren Prime and waited for the casualties to pour in. She had trauma teams ready, surgical bays prepared, blood supplies stocked. The casualties never came. Human forces fought 14 major engagements in the first week. 8,000 Marines faced off against Krith numbers sometimes 10 times their size. According to every military manual in the galaxy, the humans should have been overwhelmed. Instead, they won every single battle. The casualty reports made no sense to Da. 43 humans wounded, 7 seriously, 0 dead. Meanwhile, Krith casualties numbered in the thousands. She reviewed the combat recordings, trying to understand how it was possible. The answer was terrifying. Humans were faster. Their reaction times were measured in milliseconds. They could see movement and respond before other species even registered the threat. Humans were stronger. Their high-gravity world had given them muscles and bones that seemed impossible. A human soldier could carry equipment that would crush a Velen, fight for hours without tiring, and keep going after injuries that would kill most species. Humans were smarter in combat. They fought with a coordination that came from millions of years of hunting in packs. They communicated instantly, adapted to changing situations, and exploited every weakness. But most terrifying of all, humans seemed to have no limit to their aggression. When hurt, they did not retreat. They got angry. And angry humans were even more dangerous. Da realized something that made her hands shake. Humans were not trying to be monsters. This was just what happened when a prey species evolved enough intelligence to become the ultimate predator. On the fourth Velen world, the Krith tried a new tactic. If they could not fight the humans directly, they would force them to surrender. Hive Commander Scritch personally led a raid on a Velen school. His forces took 847 children hostage and barricaded themselves inside. It was a strategy that had worked perfectly for centuries. No species would risk civilian lives. Scritch sent a message to the human forces. Withdraw from this world or the children die. You have 1 hour. Lieutenant Yuna received the message while her platoon was clearing a nearby district. She read it twice, her face expressionless. "Get me Colonel Han," she said. The colonel appeared on her screen, his weathered face grim. "I saw the message, Lieutenant. What are your recommendations?" "Hostage rescue, sir. I can have my Marines in position in 20 minutes. 800 children in there, Yuna. One mistake and they die." "Then we will not make mistakes, sir." The colonel was quiet for a moment. "This is not like training. These are real children." "I know, sir. That is why we have to do this. The Krith think we will negotiate. They think they can use children as shields. We need to show them that this does not work. If we give in now, they will do it again and again." The colonel nodded slowly. "You have authorization. Bring those kids home." Yuna's platoon moved into position around the school. She studied the building plans, marking every entry point, every window, every possible line of fire. Her Marines were equipped with specialized weapons for close-quarters combat. Non-lethal gas grenades, stun rounds, precision rifles with smart ammunition that could curve around corners, but they also carried regular ammunition, because if anything went wrong, they would need to kill the Krith fast. "Remember," Yuna said over the comm, "children first. Always. I do not care if you take a hit. You protect the civilians. Clear?" "Clear, ma'am," came 40 voices. "Breach in 30 seconds." The assault was planned down to the second. Gas grenades went in first, filling the building with a sedative that would put Velens to sleep, but only irritate Krith. The Marines breached from 6 entry points simultaneously, moving through the building like ghosts. Inside, the Krith warriors were confused. The gas made their eyes water and their antennae twitch. They tried to use the children as shields, but the children were already unconscious from the gas, lying safely on the floor. The Marines moved through the school in teams of 4, each team covering the others. When they found Krith, they killed them instantly. Headshots. Every single time. No hesitation. No mercy. The entire operation took 17 minutes from breach to all clear. 847 children rescued. 42 Krith dead. 3 Marines wounded by Krith weapons, none seriously. Yuna walked through the school afterward, checking on the sleeping children. They would wake up in a few hours with headaches and no memory of the terror. That was a gift she could give them. Corporal Bow found her in a classroom, sitting among the small sleeping forms. "We got them all, boss. he said quietly. I know. Good work. The Krith tried to shoot a kid when we came in. Wanted to prove a point, I guess. What happened? I shot him first, twice. Made sure he was dead before he could pull the trigger. Yuna nodded. Good. They sat in silence for a moment, surrounded by sleeping children who would never know how close they had come to death. They think we are monsters, Bo said. The Krith. They have never faced anyone who would not negotiate for hostages. We are not monsters, Yuna replied. We just understand what they do not. You do not negotiate with predators. You kill them before they can hurt anyone else. News of the school rescue spread through the Krith forces like wildfire. The tactic that had worked on every species they had encountered had failed completely against the humans. Not only failed, but resulted in the total loss of the raiding party. Scritch sent an emergency transmission to Krith High Command. Request immediate withdrawal from all Velen worlds. The humans are not like other species. They do not retreat. They do not negotiate. They only kill. We cannot win this. The response took 6 hours. When it came, Scritch read it with a feeling he had never experienced before. The feeling humans would call despair. Negative. Rally all forces. Prepare for counterattack. We will show these humans what the Krith swarm can do. Scritch looked at his warriors, thousands of them gathered on the flagship. They were the best fighters the Krith had ever produced, veterans of dozens of wars, undefeated for generations. He thought about the human Marines moving through that school with impossible speed and precision, about the destroyer that had annihilated an entire fleet in minutes, about warriors who seemed to feel no fear and showed no mercy. We are all going to die, he said quietly. On Saren Prime, Commander Tay received the intelligence that the Krith were massing for a counterattack. Every Krith force in the sector was converging on the Velen capital. They would come with overwhelming numbers, determined to crush the human forces. How many? Tay asked his intelligence officer. Estimated 40,000 Krith warriors, sir, plus supporting fleet elements. And we have 8,000 Marines, 12 ships. The officer looked nervous. Even with human advantages, 5-to-1 odds were dangerous. Tay studied the tactical display for a long time. Then he opened a channel to all human forces. All units, this is Commander Tay. The Krith are coming with everything they have. They think numbers will win this. They are wrong. We did not come here to fight a fair battle. We came here to win. We came here to save lives. And we will do that by showing the Krith something they have never seen before. What happens when you threaten someone under human protection? He paused, letting his words sink in. Rules of engagement are now weapons-free. All Krith forces are designated hostile. Use whatever force is necessary. Show them why Earth is called a death world. Show them what Deathworlders can do. Across 5 Velen worlds, 8,000 human Marines prepared for battle. They checked their weapons, said quiet prayers to gods most of them did not believe in, and made peace with the possibility of death. But they did not plan to die. They planned to win, because that was what Deathworlders did. The Galactic Commonwealth Council chamber was a marvel of architecture, built to accommodate hundreds of species in one space. Today, it was filled with representatives from 47 different worlds, all talking at once. Ambassador High stood in the human delegation section, listening to the chaos. She had known this was coming. The moment Commander Tay's fleet opened fire on the Krith, she knew humanity would face judgment. High Speaker Ven, an ancient being whose species had led the Commonwealth for 3,000 years, raised one crystalline appendage. Silence fell instantly. We are here to discuss the human intervention in the Velen crisis, Ven said. His voice came through translators as calm and measured. The floor is open. Counselor Reth was the first to speak. His species looked like living crystal, beautiful and fragile. The humans have committed acts of barbarism. They used weapons banned by the Commonwealth for 4,000 years. They pursued fleeing enemies and destroyed them. They killed thousands without offering surrender. A murmur of agreement rippled through the chamber. Reth continued, his voice rising. We have records of the human actions. They deployed kinetic weapons traveling at relativistic speeds. Do you understand what this means? If one of those rounds had missed its target, it could have destroyed a planet. Another counselor stood, a being that resembled a floating jellyfish. They also used chemical weapons in the school hostage situation. We banned such weapons after the Plague Wars. It was a sleeping gas, Hai interjected, non-lethal, designed to protect the children. And the 42 Krith warriors killed in that operation? Reth demanded. All shot in the head, all executed at close range. This is murder, not warfare. Hai felt her temper rising but kept her voice level. Those warriors were using children as shields. Would you have preferred we negotiate? Let them keep the hostages as leverage? We would have preferred you not kill them all. Reth's crystalline body flashed with color, a sign of extreme agitation. In civilized warfare, defeated enemies are taken prisoner. They are treated humanely. They are rehabilitated. You simply killed them. They were trying to kill children, Hai said coldly. That does not justify execution. High Speaker Ven raised his appendage again. Enough. Ambassador Hai, the Council has reviewed combat recordings from the Velen worlds. We have serious concerns about human military doctrine. Please explain why your forces did not offer surrender terms to the Krith. Hai had prepared for this question. Because the Krith would not have accepted. They have never surrendered in their entire history. They retreat, regroup, and attack again. The only way to protect the Velens was to eliminate the threat completely. That is not your decision to make, another counselor shouted. The Commonwealth has rules of engagement that all member species must follow. Your rules of engagement are designed for species that fight civilized wars, Hai shot back. The Krith are not civilized. They are slavers and murderers. They do not play by your rules. So you do not play by any rules at all? Reth asked. Ambassador, do you not see how this looks? Humanity joins the Commonwealth, and within 15 years, you are waging wars of extermination. It was not extermination. We were protecting civilians. With a casualty ratio of 100 to 1, your forces took minimal casualties while inflicting massive losses on the enemy. This suggests either genocide or that you possess weapons technology you have not shared with the Commonwealth. Hai took a deep breath. Or it suggests that we are very good at fighting. Too good, Reth said quietly. You are too good at killing. This frightens us. The chamber fell silent. Finally, someone had said what everyone was thinking. The humans were terrifying. Hai looked around at the assembled species. Beings from low-gravity worlds, peaceful worlds, worlds without predators or violence. They looked at humanity and saw monsters. May I call a witness? Hai asked. High Speaker Ven nodded. You may. Dr. Da entered the chamber, looking uncomfortable in the formal setting. She was a scientist, not a politician, but Hai needed her expertise. Dr. Da, Hai said, you are humanity's leading xenobiologist. You have studied the physiology of most Commonwealth species. Can you explain to the Council why human combat effectiveness is so high? Da activated a holographic display. I have analyzed the biology of 73 Commonwealth species, including all those present today. I have also analyzed human biology. The differences are significant. She pulled up a comparison chart. The average Commonwealth species evolved on a world with 0.5 to 0.7 Earth gravity. Oxygen levels between 60 and 80% of Earth standard. Little to no predation pressure. Stable climates. The display shifted. Humans evolved on Earth. Gravity, 1.0 standard. Oxygen, 93%. Climate, unstable, with dramatic temperature swings, predation pressure, extreme. Earth has produced apex predators that would terrify most species in this chamber? What is your point, Doctor? Reth asked. My point is that humans are not trying to be dangerous. They just are. Their reflexes are 3 times faster than most Commonwealth species because they evolved dodging predators. Their bone density is twice as high because of high gravity. Their healing rate is exceptional because minor injuries were common on Earth. They have high pain tolerance because showing weakness meant death. Da pulled up combat footage from the school rescue. Watch this. Lieutenant Yuna and her team breached the building. From entry to completion, 17 minutes. In that time, they cleared a building with 96 rooms, navigated around 800 unconscious children, and killed 42 hostiles, all without harming a single civilian. She slowed down the footage. Look at their movements. They are not just fast, they are precise. They communicate without speaking, using hand signals and subtle cues. They know where each teammate is at all times. This is not training. This is instinct. Pack hunting instinct from millions of years of evolution. This proves our point, Reth said. They are natural killers. No, Da replied firmly. They are natural survivors. There is a difference. Killers hunt for sport. Survivors hunt because they must. Humans spent most of their evolution as prey. They were hunted by things with bigger teeth, stronger claws, and better armor. They survived by becoming smarter, faster, and more cooperative than anything trying to eat them. She changed the display to show human history. And when they finally became the dominant species on Earth, they almost destroyed themselves with war. Nuclear weapons, biological weapons, chemical weapons. They know what these things can do because they have used them on each other. That is why they are so effective now. They have spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of war. This does not make us feel better, Doctor, Ven said quietly. I know, Da replied, but you need to understand what you are dealing with. Humans are not evil. They are just from a world that made them very, very good at violence. It is not their fault. It is their evolution. Hai spoke up. The Council needs to make a choice. You can judge humanity by your standards, by rules made for peaceful species from peaceful worlds. Or you can accept that we are different, that our methods are harsh but effective, that when something threatens innocent lives, we will use whatever force is necessary to stop it. And if we do not accept this? Reth asked. If we decide that humanity is too dangerous to remain in the Commonwealth? Then you lose your best defense, said a new voice. Everyone turned. Ithris, the Velen coordinator, had entered the chamber. She looked tiny among the larger species, her wings folded nervously. Counselors, she said, her voice trembling, I am the one who sent the message requesting human aid. I take full responsibility for what happened. You asked for medical personnel, Reth said. Not an invasion force. I asked for help, Ithris corrected. And they gave it. Yes, they terrify me. Yes, their weapons horrify me. Yes, their casualty ratios make me question if they value life at all. But, she pulled up images of freed Velen colonies. They saved us. They saved millions of my people. They did in 6 weeks what we could not do in 3 years. She turned to face the entire council. I have watched human soldiers cry while treating our wounded. I have seen them share their food with our children. I have watched Lieutenant Yuna sit with a dying Velen elder and hold her hand until she passed, even though they could not speak each other's language. These are not monsters. These are warriors with hearts. They killed thousands, Reth said. Yes, and I watched the recordings. Every Krith they killed was trying to kill us. Not one human fired on an unarmed enemy. Not one killed unnecessarily. They fight like demons because they refuse to lose, because losing means people die, and they cannot stand the thought of failing to protect someone. Ithris looked directly at Reth. You are afraid of them. I understand. I am afraid too. But I am more afraid of what the galaxy would be like without them. Because the Krith are not the only threat out there. There are worse things in the dark, and when those things come, I want the Deathworlders on my side. The chamber was silent for a long time. High Speaker Ven finally spoke. The Council will vote on humanity's status in the Commonwealth. But first, we will establish the Deathworlder Accords, rules of engagement for species from high-gravity, high-predation worlds. Rules that acknowledge their nature while limiting potential abuse. What will these rules be? High asked. That is what we will discuss, Ven replied. But know this, Ambassador, humanity remains in the Commonwealth. Your actions, while brutal, were ultimately in defense of innocent lives. We will not punish you for being what you are, but we will establish guidelines for what you can become. The vote was not unanimous. 12 species voted to expel humanity, but 35 voted to keep them in the Commonwealth, with conditions. As the council adjourned, High stood in the chamber, feeling exhausted. They had won. Barely. Captain Jin watched the proceedings from the Soul's Fury, still on patrol in Velen space. His tactical officer said, "They are making rules about how we can fight." Jin nodded. "They are making rules about how much we help. Could be worse. Could be better. Could be another war," Jin replied. "Give it time." On Saren Prime, Yuna sat with Ithris, watching the stars. "Did we win?" Yuna asked. "You saved my people," Ithris replied. "That is all that matters to me. Your people are afraid of us." "Yes, but they are alive to be afraid. That is a gift you gave them." Yuna smiled sadly. "A gift wrapped in violence." "Sometimes," Ithris said quietly. "That is the only wrapping paper the universe provides." 6 months had passed since the Krith War ended. Captain Yuna stood at the entrance of the Human-Velen Joint Military Academy, watching the first class of cadets arrive. Young Velens walked nervously beside human recruits, their size difference almost comical. "Think this will work?" "Captain?" asked her second-in-command, Lieutenant Bo. Yuna had been promoted after the war. Bo had been promoted too. Most of the survivors had been. "It has to work," Yuna replied. "The galaxy is changing. They need to understand us. We need to understand them." A Velen cadet walked past, no more than 18 years old by human standards. She looked at Yuna with a mixture of awe and fear. "Relax," Yuna said gently. "We are not going to eat you." The cadet's wings fluttered. I know, Captain. You are very tall." Yuna smiled. "You will get used to it, and we will learn to be more gentle. Deal?" The cadet nodded and hurried inside. Bo laughed. "Remember when they used to run screaming from us?" "Some still do," Yuna said, "but fewer every day." Across the galaxy, the aftermath of the Krith War was changing everything. 12 species had requested human defense treaties. 5 more had asked for military advisors. 3 had hired human security contractors at prices that made Earth's economy boom. Humanity had become the galaxy's unofficial military power, whether they wanted to be or not. On Earth, Admiral Tay stood in the United Nations headquarters, looking at a map of the galaxy. Red dots showed conflict zones. Blue dots showed human military deployments. There were a lot of blue dots. "We are stretched thin," said his chief of staff, Colonel Sung. "I know," Tay replied, "but we cannot say no when people need help." "We could. We should. Earth's military was never designed to police the entire galaxy." Tay nodded slowly. "You are right, but look at this." He zoomed in on a sector of space. "The Krith War lasted 3 years before we arrived. Millions dead. Entire worlds enslaved. We ended it in 6 weeks. If we had stayed home, how many more would have died?" "That is not our responsibility, sir." "Maybe not. But we made it our responsibility when we proved we could help. Now every species in trouble looks to Earth, looks to the Deathworlders. And if we turn them away, if we let people die because it is not our problem, what does that make us? Sung had no answer to that. Ambassador Hai worked in her office at the Commonwealth Embassy, reviewing the Deathworlder Accords. The rules were complex, designed to limit human military action while still allowing them to be effective. Joint command structures, proportional force requirements, mandatory diplomatic channels before military action. She had argued against many of these restrictions, but in the end, she understood their necessity. The galaxy needed to feel safe, even from their protectors. Her communicator chimed. It was Captain Jin, calling from the Soul's Fury. "Ambassador," he said, his face serious on the screen. "We have a situation." "What kind of situation?" "Pirates tried to raid a Velen trade convoy near the border. We were on patrol nearby." "Tried?" Hai asked, picking up on the past tense. "They ran when they saw our transponder. Did not even fire a shot, just turned around and fled at maximum speed." Hai smiled. "Good. That is how it should be." "Is it?" Jin asked. "Pirates across 3 sectors are avoiding human-protected space. They are going after easier targets instead. We are not fighting anymore. We are just existing. And that scares people into behaving. That is called deterrence, Captain. It is better than war. I know. It just feels strange. We train to fight. Now we just loom menacingly." Hai laughed. "Welcome to peacekeeping, Captain. Most of it is looking dangerous enough that no one wants to find out if you really are." In her laboratory, Dr. Da worked with scientists from 17 different species. They were studying comparative evolution, trying to understand how different worlds produced different strengths. "Look at this," said one researcher, a floating being named Kess. "The Velen homeworld has beautiful weather, low gravity, abundant food. They evolved to be social, cooperative, artistic. Their entire civilization is based on trade and cultural exchange." "And Earth?" Da asked. "Earth is a nightmare," Kess said bluntly. "High gravity, extreme weather, predators everywhere. Humans evolved to be paranoid, aggressive, and violent because anything less would get them killed." "But also creative," Da pointed out. "Humans make art, music, literature. They are capable of incredible compassion." "Yes," Kess agreed. "That is the strange part. They can be so gentle and so violent, sometimes in the same moment. How do they balance it?" Da thought about Yuna, holding a dying Velen elder with one hand, while her other hand rested on a weapon that could punch through walls. They do not balance it. They carry both, the capacity for violence and the desire for peace. It makes them very good at war and very tired of it. On Saren Prime, Ithris walked through the rebuilt capital city. Human construction teams had worked alongside Velen engineers to repair the damage. The result was a city that blended both styles, human durability, with Velen beauty. She found Yuna at a memorial site where they had erected a monument to everyone who died in the war. Both Velen and human names were carved into the stone. "You came," Ithris said. "I promised I would," Yuna replied. She was in civilian clothes, which somehow made her look even larger. Without the armor, you could see just how much of her was muscle and bone. "I wanted to thank you," Ithris said, "for everything. You already did, many times. I know, but I do not think I ever properly explained what you gave us. It was not just freedom from the Krith. It was hope. Before you came, we thought the galaxy was a gentle place. We thought everyone was like us. Peaceful. Cooperative. When the Krith attacked, we did not know how to respond. We did not have the mental framework for war." "And now?" Yuna asked. "Now we understand that the galaxy is not gentle, that there are predators in the dark. But we also understand that we do not have to face them alone. That there are people like you, people who are strong enough to protect the weak." Yuna looked at the memorial. We lost people too. 7 Marines died in the final battle. Good people. I know. We remember them as well. They stood in silence for a while, watching the sun set over the rebuilt city. Do you ever regret it? Ithris asked suddenly. Being what you are? Being from a death world? Yuna thought for a long time before answering. Every time I hold a weapon. But I regret more the times in human history when we were not dangerous enough to protect the innocent. When we were too weak to stop genocides and slavery and conquest. Being dangerous is a burden, but being too weak to help is worse. Your world made you weapons, Ithris said quietly. Our world made us survivors, Yuna corrected. We choose to be protectors. That night at the Commonwealth Council headquarters, High Speaker Ven reviewed reports from across the galaxy. Crime was down in human-protected sectors. Piracy had dropped by 60%. 3 territorial disputes had been resolved peacefully when human mediators arrived, because both sides knew that forcing a military response would be extremely unwise. Humanity had been in the Commonwealth for 15 years. In that time, they had fought one major war, won it decisively, and established themselves as the galaxy's premier military force. Ven was ancient, had lived for 6,000 years, and had seen species rise and fall. He knew what humanity was. They were disruptors, game changers, the kind of species that forced everyone else to adapt or die. But they were also, surprisingly, stabilizers. Their very existence made aggression unwise. Their willingness to intervene made conquest impractical. The galaxy was safer with the Deathworlders in it, even if they did make everyone nervous. His communicator rang. It was his chief intelligence officer. High Speaker, we have detected a signal from beyond Commonwealth space. What kind of signal? Unknown origin, but long-range scans suggest a massive fleet, thousands of ships, all heading toward Commonwealth space. Ven felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. How long until they arrive? 6 months, maybe less. Do we know who they are? No, but they are not responding to any hails, and they're ships. High Speaker, they are bigger than anything we have ever seen. Ven thought quickly. Contact Earth. Send the message to Admiral Tay directly. What message? Tell him the Commonwealth needs the Deathworlders again. All of them. On Earth, Admiral Tay received the message at 3 in the morning. He read it twice, then called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. How many ships can we field? He asked. Every military vessel Earth has? Maybe 300. But most are destroyers and frigates. We have only 15 capital ships. Not enough, Tay said. Not if this fleet is as big as they say. So what do we do? Tay smiled grimly. We do what we always do. We send everything we have and we make it enough. He opened a communication channel to every human military installation in the galaxy. This is Admiral Tay. All ships, all personnel, return to Earth immediately. We have a new war coming, and this time, the whole galaxy is counting on us. Across the galaxy, human ships began the journey home, destroyers on patrol, cruisers on escort duty, even private security contractors with their small gunships. Everyone who could fight was coming home. On Saren Prime, Yuna received her orders. Return to Earth. Prepare for war. She found Ithris to say goodbye. You are leaving, Ithris said. It was not a question. Yes, something big is coming. The Commonwealth needs us. Will you come back? I do not know, but I promise we will do everything we can to keep you safe, all of you. Ithris hugged her carefully. Even after 6 months, the size difference made her nervous, but she did it anyway. Come back, she said. The galaxy needs its Deathworlders. At the Joint Military Academy, the cadets watched the human ships leaving orbit. Velen students stood with human students, all of them understanding that something historic was happening. One Velen cadet turned to his human friend. Are you scared? The human thought about it. Yes, but fear is okay. Fear keeps you sharp. My instructor says that humans are not fearless. We just keep going even when we are afraid. That sounds exhausting. It is, but it is also why we win. In orbit above Earth, the largest human fleet ever assembled began to form. 300 warships, 50,000 Marines, and more coming every day. Ambassador High stood at the viewing port of the command station, watching the fleet grow. Captain Jin's Soul's Fury was there, Dr. Da's hospital ship, Yuna's transport full of combat-ready Marines. "Do you think we can win?" asked Colonel Sung. "I do not know," High admitted. "I do not even know what we are fighting yet, but I know one thing." "What?" "Humanity has never been very good at surrendering. Whatever is coming, it is going to learn what every other threat has learned. You do not threaten someone under human protection, because the Deathworlders do not negotiate. They do not retreat. They just keep fighting until the threat is gone, or they are." On the bridge of the flagship, Admiral Tay looked at the assembled fleet. It was beautiful in its way. Hundreds of ships, all carrying the hope and fear of an entire galaxy. He opened a channel to all vessels. "Crew of the Commonwealth Defense Fleet, you have heard by now that something is coming. Something big. Something that scares people who have lived in peace for thousands of years. They are asking for our help. Asking the Deathworlders to stand between them and the dark. Some of you will think this is not our fight, that we should stay home and protect Earth. Let the rest of the galaxy solve their own problems. And you would not be wrong. We do not owe them anything. But here is what I know. We are humans. We come from a world that tried to kill us every single day. We survived because we refused to give up. Because we protected each other. Because when something threatened our family, our friends, our people, we fought back with everything we had. The galaxy is our family now. These aliens with their fragile bodies and peaceful worlds, they are counting on us. And we do not let family down. Not ever. So we will go out there. We will find out what is coming. And we will show them the same thing we showed the Krith. The same thing we have shown every threat humanity has ever faced. We are Deathworlders, and we do not lose. The fleet began to move, hundreds of ships accelerating toward the edge of known space, toward whatever waited in the dark. On Earth, a message appeared in lights visible from orbit. 5 words that had become humanity's motto. Humanity, fuck yeah. And in the dark between the stars, something ancient and terrible watched the human fleet approaching. It had destroyed 1,000 civilizations, conquered 10,000 worlds. But it had never faced Deathworlders before.